He was more than just the leader of India's freedom struggle. He was a global ideal, a man who reshaped the very language of protest with two simple yet profound concepts: Ahimsa, nonviolence, and Satyagraha, holding fast to truth. The life of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, from his birth in 1869 to his final sacrifice in 1948, was an uncommon fusion of moral strength, immense courage, and a deep, abiding humanity. To understand the man, we must journey through the crucial phases of his life, to see how he left such an indelible mark not just on India, but on the world's conscience. His story begins on the 2nd of October, 1869 in Porbandar, Gujarat. He was born to Karamchand Gandhi and his wife Putlibai. From the very beginning, his home was steeped in moral and religious values. As a young boy, he was captivated by the tales of Shravan Kumar, who was devoted to his parents, and Raja Harishchandra, the king who would sacrifice everything for the sake of truth. These stories, they were not just stories to him. They became the bedrock of his life's philosophy. At the tender age of 13, in 1883, he was married to Kasturbai. In 1888, he set sail to England to study law. Imagine this, young man stepping into Western society for the first time. There was hesitation, a sense of being out of place. But soon he found his footing. It was here, far from home, that his convictions deepened. He held fast to his vow of vegetarianism and immersed himself in the core teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, and the Quran. He returned to India in 1891 as a barrister, but success did not come easily. He struggled to establish his legal practice. This failure, however, was not an end. It was merely a doorway to a different destiny. That doorway opened in 1893 when a legal case took him to Natal in South Africa. This was the turning point. Have you ever experienced a moment so sharp, so unjust, that it changes you forever? For Gandhi, that moment came on a train to Pretoria. He was thrown off simply because of the color of his skin. The humiliation that night was profound. It did not just anger him, it ignited in him a resolve to resist. He would spend the next 21 years in South Africa. From 1893 to 1914, he fought against racial discrimination, and in this struggle, his own political philosophy was born. He called it Satyagraha, the force of truth. He established the Natal Indian Congress and led the Indian community in peaceful protests and mass movements. His method was revolutionary: to protest against oppression with complete nonviolence and to willingly accept any punishment, any suffering that came his way. He was deeply influenced by John Ruskin's book Unto This Last, and went on to establish two communes, the Phoenix Farm near Durban, and later the Tolstoy Farm in Johannesburg. Here, his followers, the Satyagrahis, lived a life of austerity, discipline, and self-reliance. In January of 1915, Gandhi returned to India. His political mentor, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, gave him a piece of advice: spend the first year traveling, understanding the real India. And he did. Between 1917 and 1919, he led 3 smaller, regional movements that proved the power of his methods on Indian soil. First, the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917. He stood with the oppressed indigo farmers of Bihar against the British planters. This was the first application of Satyagraha in India. Then came the Kheda Satyagraha in 1818. In Gujarat, the crops had failed, yet farmers were being forced to pay ruinous taxes. Gandhi led their protest. And in that same year, the Ahmedabad mill strike. For the first time, he undertook a fast unto death, demanding fair wages for the mill workers. These victories brought him to the center stage of Indian politics. By 1919, when he called for a nationwide protest against the oppressive Rowlatt Act, he was no longer just a regional leader. He was a national voice. In 1920, Gandhi launched the Non-Cooperation Movement, the first pan-India mass movement against British rule. The core idea was to boycott everything British, government services, schools, goods. But in 1922, a protest turned violent in a small town called Chori Chora. Hearing the news, Gandhi did something that shocked many of his own followers. He called off the entire movement. His commitment to nonviolence was unwavering. An entire movement was less important than the principle itself. Then, in 1930, came one of the most iconic protests in human history. The civil disobedience movement began with the Dundee March, the Salt Satyagraha. He walked 240 miles to the sea at Dundee to make salt from the seawater, defying the colonial salt tax. It was a simple, symbolic act, but it created a massive wave of defiance across India, shaking the very foundations of the British Raj. During this time, he also dedicated himself to the upliftment of the so-called untouchables, whom he called Harijans, children of God, and worked tirelessly to build public opinion against the practice of untouchability. The final call came in 1942. With the world embroiled in the Second World War, Gandhi launched the Quit India movement. He gave the British an ultimatum and gave the Indian people a mantra: Karenge ya marenge, do or die. This movement severely weakened the grip of British rule. But as freedom drew near, a shadow fell over the land. The poison of communal conflict, the tragedy of partition. Gandhi was vehemently against the division of India. The decision in 1947 left him heartbroken. While the rest of the country was celebrating independence, where was Gandhi? He was in Noakhali in Bengal, walking through riot-torn villages trying to establish peace between Hindus and Muslims. This final act was perhaps the greatest testament to his moral courage and his humanity. After the partition, he worked relentlessly to restore harmony. His fasts and his prayer meetings were instruments for peace, but his message of unity was not welcome to the extremists. On the evening of January 30th, 1948, at Bidla House in Delhi, he was walking to his daily prayer meeting. A man named Nathuram Godse stepped before him and fired 3 bullets. His last words were a whisper, "Hey Ram." A life of nonviolence met a brutally violent end. But his death made him an immortal symbol. Mahatma Gandhi gave India its freedom, but he gave the world something more. A timeless path of moral protest through his philosophy of Ahimsa, Satyagraha, Swaraj or self-rule, and Sarvodaya, the welfare of all. His economic vision, centered on khadi and village industries, remains a powerful symbol of self-reliance. His ideals have inspired peace messengers and freedom fighters across the globe, from Nelson Mandela in South Africa to Martin Luther King Jr. in America. His legacy remains an unwavering benchmark for moral leadership, for social justice, and for a development that keeps humanity at its very center. His life is that rare instance in human history where spiritual power and political action became one and the same.